Gordon Mote has certainly overcome more than his fair share of obstacles. In spite of what society today calls a handicap, Gordon has never let the fact he's blind slow him down. After graduating from Belmont University with a music degree, he's toured with many of today's top country stars, including Brad Paisley, Alan Jackson, Carrie Underwood, and Rascal Flatts. He's even been honored by the Academy of Country Music twice as Piano and Keyboard Player of the Year. Now many of Gordon's friends are returning favors, singing with him on his new project, All Things New. Lynn caught up with Gordon to hear all about the new music.
I'm here with Gordon Mote today. What a treat. I love this man. He has played on so many sessions. You know, you've heard his music. He also has an album out of his own, Gordon Mote, All Things New. How are you?
Kelly, I'm great. It's good to be with you. So
good to be with you today. Now, I want to talk about getting together with your friends because a lot of your friends are on this album with you.
Yeah, it's really special, you know, to have great musicians and great singers, but for them to be also friends and it be something they want to do. It's really, really cool. I got to work with Frank Rogers, who, in my opinion, is not just one of the greatest producer musicians of our time, but one of the best ever. I think his records will be studied and played and for a very, very long time. And great musicians, and some of my buddies that are great singers and artists in their own right sang on here with me. Josh Turner, Darius Rucker, Sheryl Crow, Scotty McCrary, Matthew West.
Wow.
I love Gabe Dixon, played some killer piano, Rhodes on one of the tunes, and so we just had a blast. We really
bet you did. So All Things New, where did that come from? That's obviously a song on the album.
Yeah. Well, you know, every day is a new day. You know, God's mercies are new every day, and I just wanted to write something. You know, when you've accepted Christ, the old goes away, all things become new, and it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done. All things can be new. You know, you just have to believe, confess, and it's done. You don't have to do anything. It's free. And so just wanted to start the record with a very positive song, a positive groove, something to get people just rolling their windows down in the summertime or patting their foot or clapping their hands. That's kind of what we wanted.
He's a great big God, and I know he makes all things new.
Talk a little bit about your personal story, because you have overcome, I read in your bio, I mean, a lot. Growing up blind and then, you know, working in the industry. Talk about your story a little bit for the folks out there that are just meeting you.
Well, I started playing the piano when I was 3 years old. My brother and I were both born blind. He's in radio now, living in Montgomery, Alabama. We were both raised in Alabama, and I wouldn't take anything for the way my parents raised us, and were such positive influences in our life. Never said, oh, you guys shouldn't try that. It's probably not a good idea. They always encouraged us to be the best we could be, and they taught us then that in our weakness, he is strong. And that, you know, so people ask me, you know, are you angry because you were born blind? And I say no to that, because evidently God knew more than I did, and knew that I could give him more glory that way. But, you know, growing up blind certainly did present some, you know, interesting situations. But you know what? Like I say, my parents were so great at encouraging us, and I just went for it. And, you know, all they can do is say no.
I love that.
And when I got to Nashville, you know, Pig Robbins, who's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, great piano player, who's played on sessions. I think his first session was in 1958, but he is still a very valid musician in our town, played on so many records, intros that you'd recognize, and he was blind. And so it had been done once, but really only once as far as a session guy went. And so when people have the chart in front of them, you know, they can read it, but I can listen to it one time and be able to play it. And people didn't believe it until they saw it, but it has nothing to do with me. It has all to do with God and the ability that he's given me. So
he gave you a special gift. So
yeah, he knew I needed to make a living.
I want to have faith like that.
I love every song. People all the time say, "What's your favorite song?"
They're like your kids. You love them all.
That's exactly. I wrote a song about my kids called "The Sound a Dream Makes." I wrote it with Gary Duffy and Shayna Canada. And, you know, your children, and you've got kids of your own, they're going to have milestones in their lives the whole time they're growing up. And you're going to remember all those milestones. I certainly do with my kids. And I got to thinking about that, especially with Ashton starting kindergarten and Samantha about to leave home and go to college. And, you know, but when you see those images, you know, the first day they go to kindergarten, or when they get baptized, or when they go to the prom, or all those things, the first time Parker played t-ball, you know, he's my athlete, all those things, you see those images in your mind as if you were looking at a screen, a video screen, and I hear those things in my head, and that's the sound a dream makes.
We still have lots more ahead on this week's show. Make sure you stay tuned to Inside Music Row for what's coming up next. We've got a Texas-based artist that you won't want to miss. Don't go away.
Hey, I'm John David Kent. You can hear me next coming up on Inside Music Row.